Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're having a great day, great night. My name is Brianna. Today I'm doing sourdough everything, sourdough tips, tricks, all that. I've been using sourdough for quite a bit now. I cook about every kind of baked good with sourdough, and I've kind of got some questions quite a bit lately on sourdough, so I thought it'd be a great time to show you guys kind of some different tips and tricks and different things. So to start out with sourdough, this is my container of sourdough. It's a really big thing. You don't have to do this big, but when I cook sourdough, I cook in big quantities, so it makes it more worthwhile. And then I'm not doing as many things, or not doing it as often, but making big batches and freezing. So that's why I use a really big container. Now again, you can use whatever size you want, whatever works. It's all up to you. You also, something that I noticed at first, I was nervous. You'll kind of see this like separation with the sourdough. There's like a liquid thing. That's totally fine. Before I feed my start, I just mix it in and everything's good. So if you see that like line of liquid, it's all good. You just mix it back in. It's just kind of part of like the eating process of the sourdough, whatever, and it's all good. So feeding my sourdough start, this is my amount. Sometimes I usually have about this or maybe less left over from whenever I cooked last. Usually when I go to feed it, I will feed it 2 cups of Lehigh rolling mills bread flour, and then 2 cups of filtered water. Sometimes I do a little bit more, but that's usually the least. From what I've found, you can add as much as like flour and water to feed it as you can, but doing less is not good. So if you already had more, you probably want to do more. Also, it could overflow. This seems to be like a good amount when I add that in to get what I needed. For the amount I'm gonna need to cook with. So like today I'll be feeding it a little bit, so I'll show you guys how to do that. I plan on making like bagels and hopefully buns. I'm out of both, so I need to be doing those. I'm actually out about like everything sourdough, out of like with Christmas just getting over with. I'm really behind on all my baking, so we need to stock up on a lot of things, and hopefully maybe I can film some tutorials with those. I don't really know, we'll see. Life is just crazy at the moment. So that's kind of just like my basic feeding. I found it's best for me, I feed in the morning. At night I mix together whatever I'm going to need, bread, bagels, buns, whatever that's going to be. I mix it in my Bosch mixer, you can do it by hand if you want. And then I let it sit all overnight. I do my first, or I do my, if it's bagels, I'll form them into bagels, do the final rise, and then cook them a few hours later. So everything's a little bit different. That always seems to be enough rice, no matter if it's winter or summer. If I do it the night before, and then the next like morning, I'll do it and get it ready for a second rice. Now depending on, if it is summer, it doesn't need as much time to rise. Our house will be warmer naturally, and so I don't need to do as big of long as a rise. I want to get it sooner if it over rises. That's another good tip I found. Even if stuff is over risen, you can still cook with it. It just might be a little flatter, but it's still, you can use it. I have overproofed, over risen, whatever it is, bagels, and I don't want to waste them, so I just threw them, into the oven, and then, just made them normally. They were pretty flat, but they were still usable. You can always throw stuff in the fridge for a couple days too. And then reshape, and that seems to work as well. So sourdough is a lot more forgiving than your other bread products, which is really awesome. Another thing, I never do a discard. I feed this maybe once a week, every 2 weeks, depending on when I'm baking. And then if I ever make too much, or let's say I feed it in the morning, that night life was just crazy, I couldn't actually mix anything up, I will then just throw this in the fridge, sitting out longer than a day I found to starts to make it sour. I'll throw it back in the fridge, and then I'll make something like sourdough, pizza dough, cornbread, something that doesn't need like a live start and can just use discard. Finding easy recipes like that are great. I did film my pizza dough recipe. Maybe I'll do a full video on that, but I did a little Instagram reel, so you can check that out on Instagram. And so I'll just make stuff like that. Sourdough pizza dough is great too, because I'll just do it into individual sizes, put it into like a little sandwich bag and throw it in the freezer. Then whenever I need pizza dough, I just pull it out and I have instant pizza dough, and it's super easy just to roll it out, throw your toppings on, throw it in the oven. So I never actually discard. I only feed it once or twice a week, or once every week or two. I'm really not doing it except when I'm cooking with it. So that's another great thing. Maybe every start's different, and I will show you guys how I make my start. I'm going to be making another one really soon. But that's kind of how it's really easy with this start. It's not super intense. It's easy. It can sit in the fridge for a little bit and it's fine. The last tip I have with sourdough is to make your own. I'll be making a tutorial soon how to make your own sourdough starter. And the reason being is I feel like there's so much more you can learn from making your own starter. Yes, you can get them from people. You can get like the dried out starts and restart them, and maybe the drying them out wouldn't be as bad. But I feel like learning to be able to start your own start helps you understand the makeup, how to do it, the amounts, understand a lot better on how to make that. Before I had started this, I got the start from someone else. Her instructions were pretty confusing to me and it just seemed very overwhelming, but starting it from myself was just, it made it for me to understand how sourdough worked, what I needed to feed. It made everything simpler and it was a whole lot better. So you don't have to, but for me it really helped out a lot, so that's why I wanted to throw that into my tips and my tricks. But yeah, hopefully this helped you guys out. There's a couple tips. Again, I'll be doing some recipes soon on what I make, because I make about everything. I have changed my normal recipes into sourdough recipes. I have found others that I love, so I'll be sharing those soon. But hopefully this kind of helps you guys get started on sourdough, some different things, and makes it less overwhelming, because sourdough has been so much easier to cook than baked goods. Everything just seems to taste better. It's softer. It's just not as like rubbery. I used to have a really hard time with making any kind of bread products. I cook and like bake my whole life. Bread products are very hard. But now doing sourdough has been so much easier. Things taste better. They rise better. Still some learning processes here and there, but overall they've been really good. And if you do it right, your sourdough start really will not be that sour. It will have a mild tang, but it doesn't have to be. Even from starting it from soon, that is one myth I have totally broken. No one really knew, is just because you start a new start doesn't mean it's sour. It can be totally nice and sweet and everything. So you don't need a 1,000-year-old start or whatever it be for it to work. But just getting a normal basic, just starting your own, can be really great too. So I have found, honestly, to keep it from not being sour is making sure it's in the fridge when you're not using it and not sitting on the counter for days. Alright, so hopefully this helped make sourdough and not quite as overwhelming. Let me know down below your favorite kind of sourdough baked good. And I will see you guys hopefully next week. If you have any more sourdough questions, feel free to message me over on Instagram. That is Brianna Jo Webster. And I'd love to be able to answer any of your questions. Talk about sourdough, because I love sourdough and it'd be great. But if you guys haven't already, please subscribe. Give the video a thumbs up and share with any of your friends that you think would love to know more about sourdough. I'll see you guys next week. Have a great day, great night. God bless.